My name is Teresa Liu from the Secretariat of Asian Bankers Association, ABA. I will be your MC today. On behalf of the ABA, Rizal Commercial Banking Corporation, and Hatta National Bank, I would like to welcome you to the fourth and final session of the virtual 38th ABA General Meeting and Conference. We are now ready to begin with session 4, focusing on the topic of emerging trends in banking and financial services, which is broken down into 3 subsessions, with each subsession lasting about 55 minutes. We will now start the subsession 1, focusing on the topic emerging trends in banking and financial services. May we invite the chairman of subsession 1, Mr. Rajan Narayan, Chief Executive Officer of Cyberbeat, to please take the floor. Over to you, Rajan.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Digital and contactless payment and banking services popularity with consumers and customers grew during pandemic. Internet shopping, in-app purchase, and mobile wallet usage, which prompting demand for virtual payment cards, better capability on the internet banking, as well as portals, and the need for robust digital ID and multi-factor authentication. Last 2 days, I was at the Singapore Fintech Festival, and it's clear there is no shortage of innovation with digital initiatives in banking, marketplace, and financial services. There were so many fintechs in there showcasing their solutions and capabilities. We have 2 well-accomplished speakers this afternoon who will examine the impact of fintech on payment and lending in Asia, focusing on new technologies to enter the markets, as well as level of disruption faced by and responses to these developments by the banks. I have immense pleasure and honor to introduce our first speaker for this afternoon session, Mr. Lito Villanueva, who is the Executive Vice President, Chief Innovation and Inclusion Officer of RCBC, as well as Chief Digital Information Advisor for the Yuchenko Group of companies in the Philippines. Mr. Villanueva is the Philippines' leading and award-winning thought leader on digital transformation and inclusive digital finance. He has over 20 years of experience in banking, telecommunications, payments, digital finance, advisory, regitech, and financial technology. In the span of his career, he has covered over 30 markets in Asia, Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Along with 70 awards in his career, he has been named one of the top 100 fintech leaders in Asia, Mr. Fintech of Philippines by Biz News Asia, as well as among the top 100 Filipinos on LinkedIn in 2021. He holds Master of Arts in Public Administration with magna cum laude honors from the University of Santo Tomas and Masters in National Security Administration from the National Defense College of the Philippines. Mr. Villanueva, the floor is yours now.
Thank you very much, Rajan, for that introduction. And of course, good day to everyone. And I'm very honored to be invited to share with you our RCBC's journey on financial inclusion, as well as on massive digital transformation. So look at your hand, feel your pocket, and look around you. Look at the people at the far end of the room. What do you and all these people have in common? We are almost likely holding a smartphone. There are now 6.6 billion people globally who own smartphones according to Statista. Meanwhile, the population of the Earth is about 7.98 billion. The majority of people on Earth are connected 24/7, just with the power of a single mobile device. And today, actually, I am delivering this, session, or being with you this afternoon at the Singapore Fintech Festival, as we have this first face-to-face event after 2019. So let's bet that that's not only the piece of technology most of us have with us right now. From mobile tablets to laptops, digital technology is everywhere. We can be on the go and connected at all times, and of course, thanks to the internet as well. With just a tap of our fingers, we are allowed access to all kinds of information we may need, just through our screens. We are able to complete a multitude of tasks just through our devices. And of course, worldwide, the estimated value that we invest into developing these technologies is about approximately 5.3 trillion US dollars. We can't escape technology. And what for? It's here to make our lives easier, faster, more efficient, and more convenient. This is why it is understandable that we pour trillions of our hard-earned money to sustain the information technology industry. However, what's key is using technology for good. At RCBC, we believe that digital innovations are nothing without the core value of empathy. Innovations with empathy for the greater good, and this is how we envision the Philippines to grow. So we constantly ask ourselves, how can we channel these amazing advancements into something fit for the bigger picture? How do we make the lives of millions of struggling Filipinos easier, especially for those living in far-flung regions and disadvantaged communities? We first realize the vitality of our services, and then we learn what the Filipinos need. There's no denying that banking is everywhere. We need financial services to participate in our economy. Most of us complete financial transactions every day, from buying medicines over the counter, paying bills, to retail shopping, withdrawing money, grocery shopping, and even lending money to a friend or receiving cash subsidy from the government. But once the pandemic hit the country, these basic services were no longer easy, safe, and accessible. Stepping out of our homes means risking the lives of our loved ones. This is where innovations with empathy come into the big picture. COVID-19 shocked millions of Filipinos, rattled governments and economies, and arrested the growth of many businesses. Our immediate response as a pioneer in the banking industry is to ensure that every Filipino has unfettered access to their finances. In our quest to find the optimal solution to an unprecedented crisis, we discovered that combining technology and finance is the answer. We developed 4 empowering solutions in the past 2 years of the pandemic: RCBC Digital, RCBC Discartec, RCBC ATM Go, and RCBC Manibela. These 4 innovations are the first of their kind and whose core purpose is to serve every Filipino across the socio-economic spectrum with a human touch. These initiatives also harness the power of digital financial services. And why? Because we see the future as a digitally inclusive one. Since cash is on the decline globally, we have to keep up. The Asia-Pacific region is tremendously following this trend according to global data. At the height of the pandemic, cash-based transaction velocity was down to almost negative 8%. People are gravitating towards e-wallets and digital finance solutions. And why is this the case? First, mobility nosedived during the pandemic because of quarantine restrictions. Second, cash was perceived as a medium for coronavirus. These 2 factors made it hard for millions of Filipinos, especially those in rural and low-income communities, to provide for their families. And for thousands of entrepreneurs, cash was difficult to access. To provide unrestricted and convenient access to banking solutions during the pandemic, we developed RCBC Discartec, and it is the Philippines' first multilingual inclusion finance app in the vernacular. For banking to be accessible, it must be within every person's reach, and it should be easily understood. For the first time, native speakers of the 2 major languages in the Philippines, that is Taglish and Cebuano, can open bank accounts, manage their finances, access loans, purchase e-loan, and avail of insurance, among others. All they need is just a single tap on their smartphone. Indeed, RCBC Discartec contributed in growing the number of Filipinos with bank accounts. In just 3 years, the number of Filipinos who are banked shot from 19% in 2019 to about 56% in 2022. Convenient digital solutions such as RCBC Discartec were among the driving forces to onboard 22 million unbanked Filipinos. Because of these efforts, RCBC was named the best digital bank in the Philippines for 3 consecutive years by Asia Money. We were also awarded the Best Financial Inclusion App with the Financial Technology Innovations Awards of the Asian Banker for 2 years. In less than 3 years at the height of the pandemic, RCBC became the winningest bank, garnering over 50 regional and global accolades for delivering inclusive innovations at scale. Alongside RCBC Discartech, we developed RCBC ATM Go. It is a revolutionary service that takes banking from brick and mortar banks to community establishments. Our world-class financial services became available through pharmacies, microfinance institutions, sari-sari stores, bakeries, community stores, pawn shops, rural banks, and remittance centers, among others. We developed this mobile handled service to accommodate Filipinos in rural areas who relied on physical stores and interactions to do their banking, and to service areas where internet connection is yet to be fast and reliable, and where roads are yet to be improved. Its 5-year revenue compound annual growth rate was at 85%. RCBC ATM Go was a dependable partner of the Philippine government in distributing COVID-19 aid to millions of Filipinos. It fast-tracked the release of about $85 million worth of government aid to make 5.2 million household beneficiaries, benefiting over 26 million individuals. The secret to RCBC ATM Go's efficiency and effectiveness is the availability of these devices across all 82 provinces in the Philippines, having 100% coverage of the country. And it is now the most extensive coverage through RCBC's dynamic and progressive merchant partner network, numbering to close to about 1,000, operating more than 1,500 terminals in geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. RCBC Digital, on the other hand, is meant for the mass affluent, became one of the most advanced apps with pioneering features such as mobile check deposit, digital concierge, and digital investments, among others. It launched a number of latest and curated app features in a span of less than 2 years, and by next year, our customers are in for a treat for a leveled up experience. Our transaction volume and value remain at 3-digit figures, and it recorded an impressive 132% in the 5-year annual compound annual growth rate. We take pride in the significant strides we made in the past 2 years to realize financial inclusion, but our meaningful interactions with the communities we serve unraveled invisible needs and untapped opportunities. It is estimated that 36 million Filipinos are still unbanked, and this is because current digital solutions are missing one key ingredient, and that is the intimate physical interactions. This year, we launched our latest addition to our buffet of digital solutions, starting with a pilot in Mindanao at Davao City, the country's first digital or physical digital blended banking experience, RCBC Manibela. Innovations with empathy mean adapting to the cultures of the community to address their needs better. We are using a sustainable e-tricycle to reach 42,000 barangays all over the Philippines. With the help of banking experience support for best agents, we make unbanked and underserved Filipinos feel trust and reliability in using banking services within the comforts of their communities. This new inclusive innovation is well aligned with the ESG framework within the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. Filipino values physical interactions, and we enjoy social occasions like parties, reunions, birthdays, fiestas, and workplace events. It is through social interactions that we build trust and connections. To evangelize the millions of unbanked Filipinos, we fuse physical experiences with digital solutions. We launched it in the Visayas region, starting in Bacolod City, and prepared to bring it to Iloilo City and other cities and municipalities in the Philippines. RCBC Manibela has been lauded by industry leaders and thought movers in the Philippines. Central Bank of the Philippines, or Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas Governor Felipe Medalla, says that the service brings bank closer to ordinary Filipinos by combining the old and with the new. Department of Finance Secretary Benjamin Diokno lauded the solution as human-centric and empathy-driven. Our digital sojourn may seem like a case study, But for us at RCBC, it is the story of millions of Filipinos who finally had access to financial paths to reach their goals and make their dreams. The spark we needed to revolutionize banking in the Philippines is the people. By understanding their needs, communities, aspirations, and dreams, we reinvented and revitalized banking in the country. The best solutions for present-day problems come from the most unexpected places. Places where we do not even bother looking. For RCBC, we had to go to the rural areas, work with partners in hard-to-reach communities, and meet a diverse set of people. All of that to get a clear picture of where we are now and where we want to go as a nation. It is going beyond sachet banking through digital. At the end of the day, digital is not a magic wand unless understood by the market you serve. The essence of banking is financially empowering people. And the way to empower them is to put the power in their hands and let them help you understand and design customer-centric solutions. Solutions that work for them and for your bank. Because the Fintech Revolution is all about winning together. And if I may share with you a short video.
Mabuhay! RCBC with SMBC welcomes you to the Singapore Fintech Festival. At RCBC, we are all about innovations with empathy. And we are excited to walk you through what Singaporeans call a die must try experience, our digital transformation journey.
The RCBC branch of today, where automated transactions allow us to serve our clients faster, while still giving them warm and personalized services. On-the-go and convenient banking transactions are made possible with RCBC Digital, the mobile app for customers who require more sophisticated digital financial services. It has recorded a remarkable 5-year revenue compounded annual growth rate of 135%. Discartec makes banking even more accessible for every unbanked and underserved Filipino, offering many financial inclusion services from 3.25% interest-bearing savings accounts, loans and sending money, to buying load, telemedicine, and insurance products. It even provides income-generating opportunities for customers in rural areas. Discartec played a key role during the pandemic by helping the government digitally disperse emergency cash subsidies under its social amelioration program. It dispersed in excess of $329 million to more than 5.2 million families, with over 26 million individual beneficiaries. And with the RCBC ATM Go, we've made it possible for Filipinos to do their ATM transactions via handheld devices, even in the remotest of areas. RCBC ATM Go is the Philippines' first neighborhood ATM and the first to cover all 82 provinces nationwide using these devices, accepting any prepaid or debit ATM cards in the country. Over 60% of its transactions cater to cash withdrawals of the government's CCT or Emergency Cash Subsidy beneficiaries. It registered an impressive 5-year revenue compounded annual growth rate at 85%. And for Filipinos in the far corners of the Philippines, they no longer have to go to the bank because RCBC goes to the people, no matter where they are. Thanks to RCBC Money Bella Barangayan Banking, the innovative physical, digital, or phygital blended banking experience. Another first in the Philippines.
I really am so happy that if there's any bank that embodies a goal to bring BSP closer to the people, it is RCBC. You deserve all the honors that you are getting for combining old ideas like cash-like banking.
Beyond bringing more Filipinos into the fold, your latest projects show that the future of banking requires human-centric and empathy-driven design. I'm very pleased to see that RCBC make significant headway in this area.
Innovation with empathy is using technology not to impress, but to express our genuine understanding of the needs and situations of our customers and delivering this demand-driven inclusions at scale. The future is not tomorrow, it is now.
Thank you so much, and good day to everyone. Back to you, Rajan.
Thank you, Lito. From the iconic jeepney to Money Bella, giving physical touch of digital banking to the alleyways of barangays. What an innovative way to reach the unbanked. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is John Barry, Chief Executive Officer of Qorus. John is a former retail CEO of at Abbey National, now part of Satenda in the UK. During his time there, roles included Marketing Director, European Director of Managing Businesses in France, Spain, and Italy, Transformation Director, as well as senior distribution roles. He received international recognition for customer-centric innovations such as Costa Coffee and branch franchising. In recent years, he has developed a global reputation through his own business within the industry for working in consulting and training with retail banks worldwide. His relationship with Qorus goes back some 25 years, ranging from speaker to senior advisor.
Right, well, superb presentation from Lito, so thank you for the innovations that RCBC are involved in. As Rajan said, then the world is changing, and Lito's just shown how dramatically that is changing across the globe. My experience is very much in the world of retail banking, going back more years than I care to count. For many of you, you may remember Qorus in its previous life as an organization called EFMA, an organization that was around in that brand for over 50 years, the one that during the last couple of years we wanted to really adapt and change to be much more customer-centric, to be much more member-focused. We are a global trade association for the retail banking and insurance industry, represented in some 120 countries, with around about 2,500 brands as members of the organization. And our whole role is to try and work with organizations to improve performance through all aspects of the changing world of financial services. There's no doubt the world of financial services is dramatically changing across the globe. And we've seen significant changes, partly because of the fintechs, but other activities as well. And I suppose it's this new playing field that's beginning to unfold, which was moved forward rapidly during the COVID pandemic. There is no doubt that had significant impacts on individuals and banks and corporate customers in a very short space of time. I think when you look at life from a banker's perspective, nobody would have thought that some of the banks could have changed their processes so quickly, so rapidly because of the COVID environment. COVID has changed the world significantly in how technology has enabled the digital process to be so more impacting on the customer and the impact of business itself. But I think when we look at the industries themselves, then we have the traditional financial institutions and the activity that they're involved in. But of course, that world is changing. That world's changing because of the big tech players that are entering into the market, because of the postal banks, the digital ledger players as well. If you look at the industry as a whole, then traditionally the banks have not shaped customers' expectations. day-to-day customers' expectations tend to be shaped by non-banks. And in the financial arena, the same sort of thing is happening. Organizations like Alibaba, Amazon, Netflix, Uber are shaping experience of customers on a day-to-day basis. They are people who've really pressed hard on improving the experience customers can expect and how digital has enabled that to happen. I think when I look at the world itself, then it's those organizations that are shaping individuals' expectations and forcing the financial services industry to really look more focused on the customer experience. We talk an awful lot about technology these days and the impact it can have, but at the end of the day, any organization is only as good as the perception it has with its customers. Without the customers, you have nothing. If you don't look after those people, understand what their day-to-day challenges are, understand what the issues are that they face on a day-to-day basis on all aspects of their life, if they can find somebody else that is easier to deal with, that's the direction of travel. And I think when you look at these sort of changes and look at it from the different perspective of different organizations, then the banking sector to some extent has been more around the cost and the revenue activities. You know, it's interesting in the banking sector, the banks are in the risk business, but many of the banks that I talk to around the globe tend to leave me with a view that maybe they're looking to reduce risks all the time rather than take risks. Not the wrong direction of travel, but it's one that one has to take into account. And I think when you look at the fintech world and how they're approaching things, they come very much on trying to resolve problems. Their world comes very much from the view of the customer, trying to find where are the problems customers experience today and what can they do to improve those pain points or those pinch points that make life particularly challenging. Historically, the banking sector has never been one that people love. If you have spare time at any time, whether you are in your home country or traveling abroad, going to a bank is not going to be the first thing on your agenda. It's not a case of you want to go to the bank, it's more a case of you have to go to the bank. The banks have had to work hard on changing the image of the organizations and the culture that actually exudes across their business in every aspect of activity, not just at the front line, but particularly in the back office as well. What fintechs do is they come along and they give you that customer view, which is so important. They're there to try and resolve those problems that exist for individuals that faced day in, day out. Whereas in the financial banking sector, traditionally the branch has been the standard direction. Yes, that is changing dramatically, but not everybody is moving entirely to a non-face-to-face world. Digital gives us significant opportunities to do far more than we've ever done before without having to go to see somebody face-to-face at a time that tended to suit the bank rather than tended to suit the customer. That is changing. Yes, much more digital, but there are banks around the globe that still are very focused in that face-to-face environment. And not all issues can be resolved in a digital space. Often when there are complaints or problems, you want to go and have an interaction with somebody face-to-face. Human beings like face-to-face interactions. So the pressure is there on the banking sector in the branch arena to try and work out how do we extract more value from those customers who are still coming in a face-to-face world? How can we use the technology to interact in that environment to improve the experience we get? And fintechs have the opportunity to work with people to achieve that goal. The problem solving becomes so important. I think actually, when you look at the sort of different aspects of approach, then the fintech world tends to be the only channel that will be operating through a digital space, much more around trying to engage people at the emotional level. Traditionally, the banking world has been more about rationality, about using the opportunity for pricing of products to actually create an environment whereby people come to the bank. Yes, you can attract people to come to you, offer higher rates of interest. The trouble is, when somebody else offers a higher rate of interest, those people will leave and go elsewhere. You need to build those emotional links with people rather than rational links. I suppose when I've looked at it in the past, then if you look at your health, your physical health and your financial health, which are probably the two areas that are so important to any individual. Excuse me. As far as the physical health is concerned, you go to your doctor and your doctor looks after you, listens to your problems, gives you solutions. If you go to the bank to look after your financial health, then the bank has more time spending on trying to sell you products rather than listening to the problems and challenges that you face. So there is a cultural change that needs to be undertaken, and the fintech world gives you that opportunity to do that. I think alongside that, then the whole way that people look at the businesses becomes really important as well. You know, it's not that many years ago. It seems to be now everything we talk about how many years in the past, we have to add 2 years for the COVID world. But probably now about 3, maybe 4 years ago, Gartner produced a report which indicated that by the year 2030, some 80% of financial organizations would find themselves not existing. That's a huge percentage. Maybe it's wrong. Maybe it's only 50%. Maybe it's just 30%. Whatever the number is, it's significant. The challenge I have to all the banking sector is, which side of the equation are you on? Are you going to be the organization that survives into the future, that actually is there because your customers see that you understand their challenges, are doing something about it? Or are you going to be on the wrong side, either disappearing by some form of acquisition from a competitor, or just disappearing because you actually can't survive in the financial system that exists? The challenges that are there on integrating businesses for the banking sector are challenging. The back office legacy systems, big challenges for the organizations to overcome. I think when we look at the sort of environment of these, excuse me, I'm afraid COVID is not complete. I've been suffering recently from a COVID breakout, so it's not completely disappeared. So whilst we might hope that COVID has gone, I'm afraid it's not completely gone. Human environment is so important across both these sectors. Now, if you look at the banking sector, you've got those core systems that are in place. You've got the internal risk control issues, which tend to sometimes constrain the organization's growth. In a fintech world, then actually people are looking at things in a slightly different way. There's a freer, more open environment. They're looking very much around trying to exploit these technologies to deliver differentiation for individual organizations. I think when you look at the people side of things, and it is to me the people that make a difference in these organizations. Whether you are a fintech or whether you're a bank, whether you're an insurance company, it is the people that are the core to your success. You may have lots of branches, you may have some of the best technology around, but your people are the ones that make a difference. If you look at the fintech world, it's full of people who have got an entrepreneurial approach. The people who are attracting those young people out of the science, technology, and mathematical arenas and engineering backgrounds is where the sort for people is. In the banking sector, we still have many banks with very silo structured mentalities. Very difficult to achieve success when you're actually in a very structured environment where decisions are taken at the top, too many committees, lack of freedom to make those decisions as you go along. Whereas the fintech world is very, very different. Much more freedom to make decisions, allowing people to make mistakes. I think one of the biggest issues in the fintech space is people willing to undertake challenges, test, try, fail, test, try, fail, test, try, and it's then successful. In the banking space, people are not necessarily encouraged to make mistakes. You know, when you're a child, you learn by your mistakes. For those of you who've got young children, you may well tell them, don't touch that, it's too hot, you'll burn. When your back is turned, they'll touch something. Oh, it's too hot. They learn. Come to a bank. Making mistakes is not encouraged. Making a mistake generally means you get penalized in some way or disciplined in some way. There needs to be more freedom to enable people to test and try new ideas. More opportunity for empowerment in the banking sector, which exists, in my view, within the fintech space. So, you know, you've got this whole environment of complexity within the banking sector, whereas you've got much faster decision-making processes in the fintech world. Decisions are made much closer to customers. I'm a big believer in enabling people to be empowered to make decisions, whether those decisions are at the front line of the organization on whether they should or shouldn't make a withdrawal to somebody they're not sure about particular issues, or whether it's in the technology decisions or new product arenas, then the fintech world is enabling those decisions to be made much faster than the banking world. So that makes it particularly challenging in any environment. In a world particularly where banks are being constantly measured by the industry, by regulators, by shareholders in terms of giving value back to the shareholder, giving value to the industry as a whole. So whether or not it's about volumes of customers, whether it's about loans, deposits, whether it's about cost income ratios, etc. Whereas the fintech space is much more about building customers. It's about how are they burning cash? Are you creating something different in the industry? It's difficult though for the fintech world to actually find the right bank to work with, the same as it is difficult for the bank to find the right fintech to work with on a particular subject. There are so many options and so many availabilities of how you can actually access those people across the globe. I think when you look at the banking sector, as I said, Gartner had that issue around banking reduction. There is clearly a keenness there for specialization in the banking industry, whereas in the fintech world, there's much greater freedom. There's much more wide opportunities, but specificity in terms of the specialization of those organizations to be able to make a difference to the organization itself. I think when you look at then at the various environments of how things might be dealt with, you know, what are the challenges that are there, whether it's about the investments, whether it's about improving user experience, whether it's about closing those market gaps. All of these issues around the strategic direction of banks are challenges which are faced day in and day out by these organizations. But alongside that, there are always going to be frictions and challenges as to how you're going to achieve those successes. I think alongside that, the issue for me from a Qorus perspective is as an organization, how can we help not only our members actually improve their performance by linking in partnerships with third-party organizations? What can we do in that particular space? I think there are a number of issues there that we're focusing on. One of which is around communities which we've developed. So there are communities we've established where people of like mind are able to gather from a global perspective, share innovation, share ideas, see what others are doing across the globe to improve performance. Alongside that, we work with a wide range of third-party organizations to try and bring the very best to our membership, something which enables them to improve their bottom line. People talk a lot about transformation. For me, it's more than transformation in the financial industry. It's more around reinvention of financial services. Financial services is in the need and is in the process of reinventing itself. The fintech world gives people the opportunity to move rapidly and improve performance and improve customer experience. But it is a huge challenge to find the right fintech. There are thousands of them, whether it's the fintechs, the insurtechs, however wide you take it, it is tens of thousands of them globally that you can plug into. It is not easy to find those people. Within Qorus at the moment, we're working on a project that really tries to look at the marketplace itself. It enables us to be able to bring to the market, hopefully during 2023, an innovative approach that enables bankers such as yourself to be able to make choices that are easy to achieve. A marketplace that gives the value for fintechs, a marketplace that gives the opportunity for banks and insurance companies to improve performance in an efficient manner going forward. But all of these challenges are going to be achieved not because of all of this technology, but because of the people. It's the people inside the organization that are going to make all the difference, quite frankly. It's those issues that are going to be so important to deliver success. There's no doubt technology is transforming the world dramatically. It is getting faster and faster day in and day out, not just in the world of financial services. The financial services industry is core to the success of countries, of communities, and of individuals. And it's incumbent upon you as individuals inside your organization to ensure that the customer is front and center of everything you do. And hopefully, with everything that's going on with the industry at the moment, it enables people in the remotest parts of this world to be able to improve their life position because of organizations like you that are represented today. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, John. It was very much informative, and I believe you have covered it well in terms of where fintechs are and where banks are in terms of solving problems, customer-centric, and most importantly, keeping customers safe and managing customer experiences and risk management. But this, I think, from what we heard from Lito as well, he addressed it well in terms of how RCBC is addressing these issues with relates to customers and solving their problems. And I'm sure they are also addressing in a similar way. So, but however, looking at the two comparisons, comparing what fintech is doing and what basically the banks, I have personal experience with that, so I understand what John is saying. Lito, we have a question. What were some of the challenges RCBC overcame in rolling out these digital initiatives with regards to adoption, access, and managing risk?
Okay, number one is internally is really more on how to push for massive cultural change, in terms of the mindset of the people inside the bank, in terms of how do we allow ourselves to be innovators as well. The Chief Innovation Officer role is not just focused concentrated in me alone, because we want to create that every employee of the company or RCBC is an innovator as well, right? So, and we welcome all of those ideas, and that's actually the mindset or the paradigm shift that we first embark on. And second to that is really on how we invest on financial education, right? So you may have a very sexy mobile app or a very robust platform, but if the consumers or target market is not even aware of how to make use of it and how it would impact their lives, then there's no use, or it would be a futile exercise to be pushing that to them. So again, with our anchor of innovations with empathy, it's more about understanding their behaviors, their needs, their aspirations, and that is where we are trying to provide them with the solutions that they need.
John, right, what would you suggest? They recently launched sustainability banking, whose focus is to achieve SDG.
I think as far as everything that sits around sustainability and ESG, doesn't matter who you are, where you are within the industry, then this is a subject which is of particular interest, either because of what the government are doing, or because of what the regulator is demanding, or because of what your customers demanding. And we at Qorus are particularly aware of that particular challenge. And one of the communities we established earlier this year is one that is focused on sustainability and ESG. It's an environment that enables people who are if responsible for that within their own bank or within their own insurance company to join that community, to be able to share some of the challenges that exist. We ran it was interesting, we ran a test on this before we launched the community. And I was amazed. We had banks from Mexico, Brazil, Spain, the Middle East, somewhere in Southeast Asia and in Japan, all on a call at the same time, wanting to share their challenges and seek information from other members as to how they were going to address that particular issue. So on one hand, you've got people in Mexico who just got up in the morning and they were having their first coffee. At the other extreme, you're having people in Asia and Japan who were ready with a glass of Horlicks, ready to go to bed. But it didn't matter what the time zone issue became non-problematic because they were there wanting to learn. People want to learn what the challenges are. We have it, the sustainability one that we operate now as a community is led by an organization called TNP, who are a leading player in the European environment in that space. So it's an opportunity for banks and insurers to be in one place, learn best practice, and seek to actually address that issue. You know, we've got what COP27 coming up in the forthcoming weeks in Egypt, and that will bring it to the fore yet again. So you can't get away from the issue that you've got to do something as an organization. It is responsible for you as bankers to be doing what is required to deliver these issues in your part of the world and what you can do with your customers and with your corporate entities as well.
So this question probably either one of you can answer, which is how developing countries may take benefit of digital payment.
What we have seen thus far, insofar as the impact of COVID-19 pandemic, we have seen the exponential growth insofar as digital payment adoption is concerned. And we have seen the downward trend. So as regards use of ATMs, for example, or even use of checks in over-the-counter transactions. So I think now that we have seen the mask mandate being lifted and and practically opening the economy again without further restrictions, we have also seen the steady growth of that digital adoption of consumers. And because we thought all along that once we shift to the to the usual or the normal way of doing things after COVID, people will again go back to the usual way of paying in cash or non-digital transaction services. But what we've seen thus far is that it has sustained the growth momentum, and definitely digital payments is the way forward for all markets in not only in Asia but globally. And we've seen empirical data to support that. Thank you.
No, I think that's true, Lito. I think in a way it's incumbent upon the industry as a whole to address those people who are less able to access financial services. Maybe historically the banking sector have not seen that as a particularly attractive environment because it was too expensive, too difficult to access. The digitization that enables people now to access the so-called unbanked is a huge market. I mean, you talked in terms of your own presentation of some 35, 36 million in the Philippines unbanked. That is a huge opportunity. And from a banking perspective, you don't actually have to make a lot of money from each individual customer, but multiply by 35 million, it comes up with quite a large amount of money at the end of the day. But you are also then seen very positively by other banking customers as doing something beyond just trying to make money from a customer. You have a broader social benefit, which I think creates much more positivity for your brand and its longevity and its willingness to bring other people to you as members.
Probably we'll be able to squeeze one more question from Carlos, and he's asking, one challenge other than engaging fintech is the different mindset banks want good quality, stable development, while fintech naturally gravitate to innovation. What are your suggestions in ensuring these approaches harmonize?
Answer to that is that again, it's collaboration, right?
Yeah.
No, I have not seen any universal bank, for example, that has no tie-up or collaboration or partnership with a fintech player, right? So because there is a surplus of fintech providers or platforms globally, it's a matter of you tapping them and having that synergy in being able to roll out, digital innovations or products or services the soonest possible time, because it's about time and scale, right? So or speed and scale, right? So and you iterate along the way. You can actually roll out this product immediately. You're talking of not years, not months, not even weeks, but it's more of how you could quickly deploy it to the market and be the first in that segment, right? So and also improve on that one as you go along. And I think this is something that must be the mindset of every organization that is that's pushing towards digital transformation. Thank you.
I think actually on that particular issue, Rajan, then as I said earlier on, the banking industry to some extent is very silo structured. I know banks, some have changed. New organizations are much more free flowing in that regard. At the end of the day, creating a more innovative environment, it all comes from the top of an organization. The culture that exists in a bank is a reflection of the CEO and the team that sits around him. And those organizations where success is being clearly displayed, in that marketplace, whether it's in the Philippines, whether it's in Europe or anywhere else, is a reflection of the leaders. It's about leadership that is so important. It's not about the technology. You can talk to people about being more innovative, but you need to encourage that in an environment that allows people to make decisions, to empower them, to let them make mistakes. If you don't do that, you won't create innovation. You create innovation because actually you're prepared to push the boundaries. And I think those organizations that are already successful and those organizations that want to be the successful ones are the ones that have created that cultural change. And cultural change is never easy, but it comes from the top of the organization that actually will create the change to enable significantly more innovation in the banking sector and learn from the way the fintech operators have an empowered decision-making environment.
Okay, we've got probably one last one. In terms of fintech innovation in the area of financial inclusion, RCBC appears to be way ahead of its peers in the industry. How about in cybersecurity? How is RCBC protecting its customers from scammers online, given its problem in the past? So I'm sorry that I should have asked this, but anyway.
No, it's okay. In fact, this is not just a concern of RCBC, it's a concern of the industry. And I think we all know that cybersecurity is of utmost concern and priority by every player in the industry. And it is not, again, an isolated case for a particular bank, but again, it is a concerted effort across stakeholders in the banking industry that would include the regulators, of course, the banks themselves, and even our consumers, our customers, right? Because it starts and ends with having to have the right consumer protection and consumer education about cybersecurity. And again, if I may, just stress the fact that banking is all about trust. And trust, if I may put some acronym to it, it's about technology that is responsive, universal, safe, and transparent.
So, come to a conclusion, John, Lito, it was very inspiring, where basically you could see how a bank has gone about deploying and implementing those digital strategies to achieve its objective in basically bringing digital banking to unbanked. John, I totally agree on everything you have said about how you look at where banks are actually focusing and then where fintechs are looking at the problems. But however, there is collaboration between the both, where you can achieve what Lito has highlighted that RCBC has done. Although we have not had that question and probably not the time, but I'm sure it can be concluded that there were collaboration and there were a lot of interaction that has gone through with fintechs as well as the bank to come up to all of those kind of deliverables. Because yes, correct, it is those fintechs who come up with those kind of problem-solving ideas and being able to actually be innovative and then work with banks to actually deliver it, cooperate and collaborate and all of that. So I feel that's the message that I can see going forward. And please feel free, audience, feel free to ask questions. Send it separately to Teresa, I think, or keep writing on the question box, and we'll be very much happy to answer these questions. Thank you very much once again, John, Barry. It was very much appreciative of this presentation. Thank you.
That ends our first session of today. We are going to take a short break and we'll return in about 2 minutes time.